Hello, and welcome to the Outdoorsy Diva podcast. I'm your host, Lauren, the Outdoorsy Diva. Thanks for joining. Hello, adventurers. Welcome to this episode of the Outdoorsy Diva podcast. As you know, we are highlighting awesome Black outdoor-focused businesses and content creators this great outdoors month of June. And today we have one of my faves out there on these interwebs. She's out there killing it. This is Demiesha Dennis of Brown Girl Outdoor World. So go ahead and say hello to the audience and let the people know who you are.
Hey everyone. Lauren, thank you first of all for having me on your podcast. I am super excited to be here, and thank you for just being amazing, first of all. Um, to everyone listening, my name is Demiesha Dennis. I go by Misha on the interweb, as Lauren loves to call it, and I am the creator of Brown Girl Outdoor World, and it's a space designed to change the narrative through outdoor adventure. Um, the point of Brown Girl Outdoor World was just to get people to see that yes, Black people are out here living wholesome lives in outdoor spaces, and we deserve to be seen.
Absolutely. So I'm sure a lot of that sounds like a recurring theme to the listeners who are regulars here. So as you guys can see, I am not an anomaly. I am not a token. I'm not the only Black girl out here in the world doing these amazing things with this same vision. So let us know, how did you come to be? How did Brown Girl Outdoor World get started?
Brown Girl Outdoor World came out of not seeing myself represented in media whatsoever. It was I've been camping and hiking and fishing and all the outdoorsy things since I was a kid. I grew up in Jamaica, so the outdoors wasn't an option of an elite perspective. It was just there, and you experienced it growing up. I mean, I remember being in the bushes, climbing trees, falling out of trees, going back up because I still saw the fruit at the top of the tree that I intended to get the first time and I didn't get it. So I went up so I could get it again. And it just kept on, I lived outdoors. When I moved to Canada and I started realizing that, wow, the outdoors is an entirely different conversation here, and it has an entirely elite perspective to it, and it requires a whole different level of understanding to actively get out and get engaged. And then understanding that that conversation did not transcend to Black communities, I was like, how can I be a bridge for that conversation to carry over into our communities? It's not that there aren't people here who want to go outside and who want to explore the outdoors. We're here. We just didn't have a community around it. So Brown Girl Outdoor World came out of wanting to create that community and give people a space to feel seen, to feel understood, and to just be able to be outdoors with people who look like you, understand the challenges that you went through to get here, and to make you feel safe and comfortable while being in the outdoors. So that is what Brown Girl Outdoor World is.
And so this is really interesting. So you're going to be the first of the people I've interviewed that's going to have a little different perspective on it because your origins are from Jamaica. So how long have you been in Canada?
I've been in Canada for now 21 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a pretty good portion of your life, but
Hmm.
still your narrative and the way that you live was framed based on how you grew up. And it was definitely a lot different for how a lot of people here in the States and in Canada grow up, because a lot of the Black people who are in Canada, many of them may have similar origins if they did not transplant, from one of the Caribbean countries, and their ancestors actually did originate in America,
Hmm.
like mine. So
Hmm.
that's really interesting. So in Canada, what is that feeling like in the outdoor community?
I mean, it's severely isolated, and I'll tell you that in the U.S. there's a larger representation for Black people in the outdoor spaces. Here in Canada, it's like a muted conversation that no one really realizes is happening. There's no real platform for it. Um, so there are only like literally a handful of us here who are actually trying to make that conversation and to bridge the gap between what the Black community experiences and how we take that experience into the outdoors. Um, there's very, very, very limited advertising, if any at all, that takes into consideration um, Black folks and their existence here in Canada in outdoor spaces. So, I mean, through Brown Girl Outdoor World and through another friend of mine, Judith, who lives in Vancouver, she is also doing some work in Vancouver, which is another province in Canada. So, kind of like another state in Canada, to create the representation because it doesn't exist here. It's almost as if the conversation doesn't need to happen, but it still needs to happen. And what we're doing is trying to work to make that conversation become louder in the Canadian outdoor spaces.
Wow, and we're going to get into that even more depth. But I got lots of questions, but now I'm trying to get all into Misha's business. So, what services does Brown Girl Outdoor World provide right now?
Right now, we do trip planning and adventures. So we literally sell an experience. We go out there, we curate these experiences in terms of camping, fishing, hiking, working on doing skiing, snowshoeing. We've done winter hikes. We've done overnight camping trips. So we curate the experiences that we wanted to have as individuals, and then us selling that to people to come out and engage with us. We've done community events just to get people to know who we are and to realize that they really aren't alone in this space and that they can come out, have fun with us, enjoy the things that we do in the city, and then we take them into these great outdoor spaces. Because Canada has so much beautiful, beautiful land to explore. And I mean, limiting it to just a city experience for an outdoor experience, it doesn't give you the picture of what I mean, the great, great, great land space that we live in. So we're taking people out into the outdoors, showing them that you do belong here, that you can exist here, and that there's so much fun to be had here, bugs and all.
I love exactly bugs and all. Someone asked me about on my page. It says it's only the great outdoors. What are you afraid of? And I was like, bugs, duh.
Girl, I still jig and jive when I see mosquitoes. I hate them. I hate them entirely.
So, and I actually didn't quite realize. So, the curated experiences, you're actually taking them and guiding them through it, not
Yeah.
just like, oh, here's your package, off you go.
Oh, no, no, no. We definitely create an immersive experience with what we want is to create community. And giving someone a trip and say, here, go do it, that's not creating community, because at the end of the day, there's no one showing you how to set up your tent. There's no one giving you an understanding of the outdoors. And what we want to do is to create education around the things that you can do in the outdoors. We want to show you how to fish. We want to show you how to, if you do decide to catch and keep a fish, how you can clean that fish and roast it over a fire while you're outside camping. Like, we want to give you the experience of sitting outside at the nighttime with your newfound friends, having conversations about your blackness in the outdoor, about challenges that you face, about the joys that you experience, and creating community around that.
I love this. I love this so much. And I was
Mhm.
laughing in my head when you said, teach you how to catch the fish and clean it. I was like, I like to catch them.
See, I'm a conservation fisher, so I catch and release. But there are people who we've gone out with who they want to catch and they want to experience the joy of eating a
Eating
freshly caught fish.
absolutely.
Yes,
I love that feeling. I don't want to do the work.
girl, I'm with you on that, but I don't mind teaching it because I know how to do it. And I mean, teach a man to fish,
You're right.
or a woman to fish, and that, yeah, I love that. I love the experience of just having someone learning something from me that they can use in the future.
That is actually super dope that you're doing this, and especially as a Black woman. So is there like a skill level that's really required? Can you be a complete novice?
The first time I went out and set up a tent by myself, I didn't look at a Google video. I walked into one of the Canadian retailers here. I grabbed the cheapest tent I could find, and I went camping, and that was it. I didn't do any prep or anything. Now, having said that, there is definitely a level of safety and understanding that you need to have in terms of going in the outdoors, operating in the outdoors, making sure that you're safe, making sure that someone knows where you are when you're going camping, making sure that you have proper equipment, not expensive equipment, but proper equipment so that if you get into a situation, you can get yourself out of it. And just for me, one of the biggest things is knowing how to read a map. Like, that's essential to me, and It's not a necessity when you come out with Brown Girl Outdoor World, but we will teach you those things.
That's amazing. That is so key. And I so wish that people like you existed when I got started in my outdoor adventures a few years ago, and I didn't have to fumble through it, you know, avoiding near death
Mm-hmm.
experiences.
And even having the training, like even like last week, I mean, I have this thing. So I bird as well as fish. So I went out on the river last week, not last week, 2 weekends ago, and I was fishing and I saw a bird that I really, really wanted to see, and I've never seen this bird. And in not thinking, I immediately dropped my fishing rod to catch a picture of the bird. And then when I realized that my fishing rod, my was going down the river, I immediately started running. And I'm like, "You fool! Do you know how deep this water is?" Yeah. So it does take. You still need to know safety, but there's never a point where you stop learning safety, and that's important as well. So to keep learning, and for us to be able to offer that as a part of the experience when we go out camping, hiking, or whatever it is we're doing in the outdoor, that's important to me, because what I want essentially is at the end of the day, you come to these Brown Girl Outdoor World events and you're like, I can do this. I can definitely take my family and we can definitely go camping because we've been given the information and now we want to pass it on. So I'm hoping for like chain reaction out of this. So one teaching the other. And before you know it, there's a whole bunch of Black people out here living their best and fullest lives in the outdoors.
Is it open to families? Can they bring their kids?
Oh, definitely. Our focus isn't on youth, but if there's parent coming in with their children, we're not going to say no, because we do want, again, my focus is on educating the educators, because there's so many programs out there that are focused on the youth. There's so many programs out there that are focused on giving youth knowledge and information that some of us as adults never got, because our parents were busy working 4 or 5 jobs.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have it, like things were not it was more of a lifestyle based on necessity, and not the privilege of having everything at your fingertips to run into the outdoors. It was more, do you need to do this versus can we just do this? And a lot of people didn't have that experience. So there are a lot of adults out here now who are raising kids who don't have the knowledge of what they can do for their children to bring them into outdoor spaces. So my focus is on getting adults the information so that on a weekend when these day camps aren't operating or these after school programs aren't operating, you as a parent can take your kid and say, you know what, I have the knowledge, I have the information, I really enjoyed this experience the last time. And now I'm going to take you as my child and teach you how to do it because I have that knowledge and that information now.
100%. Actually, my first camping experience really came because my son had been begging me to camp and do those kinds of things since he was like super little. And I mean, I didn't know how. And, I'm a single mom. His father wasn't involved to that degree, and he didn't have the skill either, even if he had been, to
Mm-hmm.
be honest. So it was one of those things that finally I was like, all right, I'm going to take my baby camping and, we'll make it happen. And I actually borrowed a tent from a coworker
Mm-hmm.
for our first time. So now I really want to hear about your nature origin story. And I want to know about like, what was that first moment that you can recall that really sparked your love of nature, and what do you love most about it?
So it's funny because my nature origin story, who just came from someone who's no longer here with us, and he just passed away yesterday. So
Oh no, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
no, but it's a good thing for me because now I know I have that connection, and because that person created that connection for me, I can still maintain the level of love that I had for him through his experiences and teaching me nature. My first nature experience was as a kid, again in Jamaica, going bird hunting with my cousins. That was my first real memory that I have of, wow, nature is an actual thing, and here's how I'm involved in it. So that for me was like, we went bird hunting, and in Jamaica, when you go bird hunting, you keep what you catch or you keep what you hunt. That's the thing. Come home and it's like there's a communal meal around it for those who went out and did the hunting, and just it's like such a deep connection when you go out, you hunt it, you bring it home, you cook it, you sit there, you eat it, you have conversations around it. that is my first real nature connection. And then outside of that, just being able to come home in the evenings, where take my uniform off from coming home from school, and there's so many fruit trees at the house that I lived in Jamaica, and then just across the way there's a whole pasture that had um, guava trees and oranges and just random wild fruit growing that was edible. So for me, my nature connection was through food and nature. Those are the two things that connected that for me, food and nature.
I love that. And you're the first person actually to give it from that perspective. And I have to ask now,
Mhm.
what kind of birds were you all hunting?
I can't, and now the funny thing is I can't even tell you what those birds are. Now that I'm a person who actually birds for the fun of birding and not to consume birds, it's like, what was I eating? What was I hunting?
And that's a great segue too. Okay,
Yeah.
so we have to talk about Birding Week that went down a couple of
Oh,
weeks ago. Shout out to Black AF in STEM for putting on that amazing week. If y'all don't know what we're talking about, just look up the hashtag Black Birding Week, and it's going to take you down a rabbit hole of awesomeness, and you're going to find
oh,
even more amazing Black people like me, like Misha. So now, y'all, Misha just glazed over. Oh, yeah, I'm a birder and I take photos. Her photos are amazing. So, ma'am, how did you get into like actual being an actual bird watcher? How did you get into that? How'd you get exposed to that?
I've forever been a lover of birds. With different types of loving birds, but then I grew into birding. Here, I'll give you my birding experience here in Canada, because birding in Jamaica is a whole different story. Because I realized half the birds that had different names in Jamaica are the same birds that I'm seeing here, but my grandma didn't know that they had these names and these Canadian bird names. So we had different names for them. But coming to birding here in Canada was just seeing and realizing and finding quiet and finding peace in birding. It is one of the most between birding and fishing. I'm a person who loves calm every now and again. Like, I love just being in a space where there's nothing on my mind but the activity that I'm engaged in at that moment. And birding is one of those things for me. Just being there, being present, and realizing that if I'm not present in that moment, I'm missing so many things, so many birds, so much birding, that it forces me to be present and be in the moment. When I'm out there birding and just, I get lost in it. I get entirely lost in it. And then the excitement of coming home, documenting the birds that I've seen, and I love finding the scientific names behind them, behind the common bird names that we see. A part of that for me is just, going beyond the imagery, going beyond the, oh my God, this bird is so beautiful. I come home and I do sometimes search about, the scientific origins of the bird. I have no science background whatsoever, but it's still just interesting for me to come home and find out a little bit more than what I just saw.
That's really cool. I knew nothing of birding until got on a press trip with Lake Erie Shores and Islands
Mm-hmm.
in northern Ohio. And they brought me for one trip. And so while I was there, they were like, "Hey, are you into birding?" And I was like, no. And in my
No.
head, I'm thinking, okay, I say I'm outdoors. I can't really be like, girl, Black people don't bird.
Bird.
So I was like, no, but I'm down to try anything once. So, what you got? So they were like, well, how about we bring you and your son back up here for the Great American Week in Birding?
Yep.
And at the time, I had no idea that this was like the Super Bowl of birding,
Yes, it
that
is.
people come from all over the globe for that period of migration when all these different birds come through there. And it really changed my life. It did. And I was like, oh, like this is a thing. I get it. I get why people love this. I see how this could be such a draw.
It
Um,
is such a beautiful experience. Honestly, again, because the imagery of birding has forever been an older white dude
right.
going into the bushes to hunt a special bird. That's always been the imagery of birding. But again, because the media doesn't show us the media doesn't put us in print. The media doesn't put us in the magazines that are geared toward these sports, right? There are people out here birding, as we saw in New York. I
Yep.
mean, we're out here. It's just that the world chooses to ignore the fact that we're here. But thank God for Black AF and STEM. Thank God for them and that Black Birding Week. That opened up such a can of worms on the silence that has been that has been around, again, Black people in the outdoors. It blew the lid off of blew the lid off the can that held that conversation in it.
Absolutely. And even when I went to that event, even at that time, because that was like 4 or 5 years ago, and
Mm-hmm.
my eyes were open immediately. I saw quite a few Black people there who
Mm-hmm.
were birding and who were into this. And I was like, oh, okay, this is a thing. But what you're saying about Black Birder Week, when we're literally not kidding, it was like out of the woodworks. It went viral. It hit CNN. I know for me personally, a lot of the tweets that I shared in the movement went viral. I had never had things retweeted by the thousands. And
Mm-hmm.
so I have to credit them for these doors that it has opened, the conversations we can now have with, the outdoor industry, who really just in the last couple of weeks discovered that we exist.
Yeah. I mean, if you the Audubon Society is reposting Black Birders Week.
Yep.
Like Audubon is the society of birding, period.
Yep.
And they're all about supporting and encouraging and giving a platform to speak to that. So it's been amazing. And I mean, it's tragic what had to bring light to the situation, but the fact that we as a people know how to navigate so well that we can flip this into education is just a testament to the strength that lives within us as Black people.
Not only do I want to see us flip it to education, I want to see this translate into real, actionable change, not
Mm-hmm.
performative. And I want to see the money behind it. Like, pay us.
Pay me for my work, pay me
Pay it.
for my knowledge, just pay me. Yep, I am 100% with you on that. And that's the thing too, that we need to stop being shy about asking for money, or not even asking but demanding our money, because I mean, there are people out there who are making legitimate profits and living lifestyles off of this. There are people who this is their bread and butter, while we're out here like, yeah, I bird, yeah, I fish, yeah, I'm in the outdoors. And there are people out there like, girl, I just bought my Audi off of one contract from birding, or one contract from fishing, or one contract from presenting the outdoors on social media. Why aren't we capitalizing on that, right?
Yep, 100%. And so I'm going to ride this wave and use this moment. And I'm taking note. And I know you are too, because y'all, she does not hold back on her social media. But we are watching. We see the brands who are showing us these things. They're resharing our content. We see their posts of solidarity, their
Mhm.
promises to do better. But just know that we expect accountability and
Oh yeah.
transparency. And so
Hmm.
don't be shocked when we're asking you for it. When you get these pitches and you get these bets from us about the things that we can do and the services that we offer, like, we expect to have these real conversations with your
Girl,
checkbook.
I'm out here saving and screenshotting their posts,
Yep.
just to hold them accountable when the next season comes and they're looking for models, they're looking for writers, they're looking for content, and the Black voice is still not included in that search. I'm
Yep.
holding you accountable, and I'm holding you accountable as a retailer when you're making your advertising and your marketing campaigns and there's still no Black representation, or you go for the only mixed race light skinned person that you could possibly find to include them as your representation of Black, or even not even finding not even a Black person, saying you're putting in someone Asian, because for some reason diversity seems to stop at Asian for a lot of brands. And that's such an ugly narrative to continue with, and it needs change. Because again, we out here, right? Why not use us? Why not
One
pay us?
100%. Now, birding is one of the many outdoor things that you're into, but
Mhm.
you are an amazing angler as well, right?
I don't know if I'd say amazing. I mean,
You're
I've
amazing to me, Misha.
I've caught so many trees that someone else might question that. But no, I love fishing. And for me, it's again just to the same level of presence and not thinking about anything else while you're out there fishing and while you're out there birding is the same thing that applies to fishing for me. It is such it's for me, fishing is healing. And for me, fly angling even brings another level to it for me because you're standing in the water, feet to the ground. Yes, you're wearing waders and you're wearing boots, but you're so grounded in that moment and so present in it that nothing else matters. Like nothing else matters between your hand, your rod, the fly at the end of your line, and a fish possibly coming up for that. Being on the water and seeing a fish rise to take a fly that even the just a couple of weeks ago um I caught a trout on flies that I tied myself. And that was like one of the best experiences I had. It might have been the smallest trout I could have gotten, but the fact that I put the work into that and I tied that fly and a fish took it, it was heavenly for me.
All right, now, Misha, you got to talk to us like we're dumb. When you say fly, I know what fly fishing is, right? So when you say fly, are these just like lures that look like flies?
So there are these little things that people use all kinds of different materials for, and you literally tie up something that would match whatever insect or whatever is hatching at that time of the year in the water. You tie something, you get a vise, and you get material, and you get hooks, preferably barbless hooks, because if you're into conservation, you catch and release, you don't want to damage that fish. So you tie those things up, you put them at the end of your line, and hopefully it attracts a fish based on what they're feeding off for the day, the time of day, or that time of year. So it literally looks like you tied a bug that would interest the fish.
Wow, I had no idea it was that intricate. So, fun fact that I don't think I've ever said publicly, fly fishing is on my bucket list.
Yay! Oh my God! I would die to take you fly fishing. It might not be the best fly fishing lesson that you will get. However, it is it. Do it, Lauren. Just
I
do
don't
it.
care. I just want to be in my waders and stand in the water. And this came because when I went to Yellowstone this past fall for the first time, and they have so many bubbling brooks and bodies of water. And I saw people out there like standing out there in their waders. There's areas where you're allowed to fly fish, but with the buffalo roaming around and the mountains
Oh,
around, the scenery, it was like, I need to do this. This has to happen. Like, no, weird. This has to happen in my life. And they looked so calm and just not a care in the world. And I was like, I would try this. I
girl,
would
it's
do this.
peaceful. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. No matter what. There are places in Oregon that you can go to, and Oregon is beautiful, beautiful for fly fishing. I mean, I was there in March, and I'm at the point now where I no longer see water. All I see is fish when I'm driving by. Everything looks like fishing territory to me. But there are places in Oregon that you can actually go. You can book a trip, and I'm sure it's the same for everywhere. Even in California, anywhere on that coast, you can go and you can rent all your equipment, so you don't have to make the heavy investment of getting all your stuff. You can actually rent it, and they'll guide you on the water and teach you how to do this.
Sounds like I hear an outdoorsy diva, brown girl, outdoor world
World collab,
collaboration
yep,
when the world opens back up because of the C word. So
that
let's
C word.
just go ahead and get it out the way. How did COVID 19 ruin your 2020 like everyone
Girl,
else's?
I mean, I there were days where I was on the brink of crying because I'm like, how did this happen? Like, why did this happen? But the funny thing is, COVID-19 stopped me from running trips
Right.
because you can't, like, you're not able to gather and you're not able to be out in spaces with groups and all that stuff. But I have found such a community during COVID-19. I don't even know how this came to being, but it's like all of a sudden, a lot of people discovered nature. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of people discovered the the fact that nature is right outside their front doors, and everybody wants information. And I am so ready to give it. I'm so ready to get people actively involved in exploring nature that, I mean, giving the information it's like it's just become second nature, and finding community that wants that information has been amazing during COVID-19. It's part of what has kept me like mentally engaged in this process, as well as I'm planning so hard for once COVID-19 is gone that the world won't know what hit it.
That's awesome. And I've seen the same thing. It was kind of like, everyone else just discovered that, oh yeah, nature's here and outside is here.
Mm-hmm.
And at first, I felt a little protective of it. Like I was trying to get away from people because kayaking is my thing. Like of all the outdoor sports, I
Mm-hmm.
love to kayak. Like that's my happy place. And
Mm-hmm.
to get on the springs and just get away from people. So that was before Florida had any shutdowns. That was like one of the last things I could still safely do.
Mm-hmm.
And I got there, and I'll be darned if there weren't like 50 people on the river. I was like, where go
Yep.
away? I do not understand this. It's the middle of the week, it's in the morning. Where did all you people come from? Nobody cared about the outside before.
Before, that's funny because even in my neighborhood where I live in Toronto, that we have like this amazing green space across the street from me, and I specifically chose this apartment that I live in because of the green space that's there. And I mean, we'd get people coming in and people exploring the trails because there's a nice river that runs there. um, there's a great spot for birding there. I can actually fish on that river. And I was like, this is amazing because it's never busy, it's so quiet, it's so peaceful, so much greenery. And then COVID hit. And I mean, there were cars parked along my street, there were cars parked on the main street, there were cars parked all the way lining the street. And I'm like, where the heck did you all come from? Like,
Right.
how did you, where this wasn't, did you not realize this before? And I'm, like I said, I'm glad people are finding nature now, but I was like you, so protective of it. And I was also protective of the fact that not everyone that was coming in understood how to actually enjoy nature and protect it while they're
Exactly.
doing it, right?
Exactly.
Because the coffee cups started piling up, the bits of garbage, the gloves, the masks, all that stuff started piling up. And it's not like I can easily go out right now and educate people about, protecting nature while you're using it. So I just started going in after people and cleaning up stuff when, like, at the end of the day, because I didn't want to see it ruined. I didn't want to find a bird in a plastic bag a couple of days later or stuff like that. So, it was very interesting to see, but I am glad people are waking up to the fact that nature is there and it's an option, and it's almost a necessity to fully function and be a part of this whole big world that we live in.
It is. And I think my hope is that when we expose them to the beauty of it, the serenity of it, the healing power of it, that they also have an appreciation of it that leads to conservation, right? So that you'll
Yes.
protect something that you actually get so much benefit from.
My one of my I keep, like, every time someone talks to me about nature, I said, learn to love it so you can protect it. Know it, love it, protect it. That's how I think the conversation should go. You get to know it. Like, you don't really put interest and time into things that you don't care about, things that you don't know about. So if you get to know nature, then you'll get to, through knowing it, you want to enjoy it. Through enjoying it, you want to protect it because you want it to be there again for you to go back to it. And I think that's even though we go out and we have fun and we explore and we do all these outdoorsy things, I think at the end of the day, we're all hoping that the people that are in our lives, that the people who are around us, will come to the point where they want to protect it a little bit more, that they don't want to leave that coffee cup there. They don't want to leave that straw lying there. They don't want to leave that mask or that glove that we're now forced to wear to be outside. They don't want to leave it there. You're going to take that home with you and properly dispose of it so you can protect the environment.
Exactly. Okay, so what barriers do you see that can be improved upon that will encourage more Black women, men, families, everyone, Black people in general to get outside and to try a lot of these things?
A lot of it is representation. Representation and showing people who look like the people who we want to get out there doing the things that we hope other Black families, other POC families would want to do. Show them. that, like, not seeing yourself represented is, people don't look at it as a barrier, but it is. Because if you don't see it, how do you know that there's so much about the outdoors that has now taken on this elite life to it, where if you're not white and male, or if you're not white and female, you're not allowed to participate in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the conversation around a lot of it. It's the same thing with travel. For the longest time, travel was this closed off space to Black people, because the assumption was that Black people don't have money to engage in this, or Black people don't want to travel, or Black people don't want to see the world, or that Black people want to stay in their communities, or that couldn't be further from the truth. But because we weren't being shown in print media, we weren't being used in advertising, no one really understood that, yeah, there's a great big space out there for us to get involved and get engaged in it. And once it started becoming more mainstream, even if it was through just us Black people promoting ourselves in these spaces, the travel industry in, and I'm speaking to your area here, I don't even know why, because this is your area. Um,
No,
there,
go for it. It's a great
it's,
segue. Keep going, girl.
yeah, it's been such, it's people representing for ourselves and showing people that, yeah, we're out here traveling and we're going to countries and we're doing things. We can do the same thing for nature. Show us enjoying kayaking, canoeing, fishing, archery, anything that's outdoorsy. Show Black people in it. I mean, how else do you intend to change a narrative? You can't continue showing me white people doing the things that you want me to do and think I'm going to feel welcomed and ready to participate in it.
I 100% agree with everything you just stated. And so here's what's interesting, So for me, as a travel content creator, I'm really a sub niche, right? Because I brand myself as being an adventure traveler. So
Mm-hmm.
really, and for a lot of people, in order to truly do a lot of adventurous or outdoorsy things and things in nature, it requires some element of travel, even if it's just a road trip, right?
Yeah,
For a lot of us who live, if you live in an urban center, in an urban city, then for an abundance of nature focused activities, you're going to have some element of travel. You may need to rent a car, you may need a place to stay. Camping is some form of travel. So there's an intersection in that industry, and I'm kind of right there at the apex of that. And so
yeah.
a lot of what we've been talking about in terms of representation. Right now, I'm part of the Black Travel Alliance launch team. We just dropped a bomb on the world yesterday. For those who are listening, you will be hearing a lot more about that on the show. But basically, our initial initiative is exactly what we've been talking about. Holding these travel brands accountable, asking them, okay, you showed us these Black squares, you voiced your support for Black Lives Matter, you told your employees that they matter, but now we're asking for the numbers, for the data. Show us what your diversity and inclusion looks like. Show us what you've
Exactly.
already done, and show us what your plan is to do more, developing a scorecard. So now we can hold them accountable. So we have a running list of brands that we're tagging, that we've sent the press release to, and a lot of those brands are absolutely in the outdoor industry. you know
Congratulations on that. Like, that is such, thank you. When I saw that yesterday, I was like, go Lauren, go. That's
so
that's that's big.
more to come, and I feel like it's just the beginning. And I think for people like you and for Abundant Life Adventures, we color outside, I won't get to name everybody,
Hmm.
but that's just who'll be on the show. But for a lot of us, I can envision us coming together in a similar manner,
Oh yeah.
to then dig down even deeper, specifically with the outdoor industry and brands. So
Hmm.
we're just getting started. We're at
Yeah.
the tip of that iceberg.
We need that accountability though, and that's one of the big things, because, like, so what I've been doing, and like, this is time consuming, but it's so worth it. I've gone on to a lot of these brands that have now come out and made statements to say that they're supporting people. And I'm like, I looked at your whole feed from the inception of your account until 2 weeks ago. You had not one single Black person represented in your feed.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is not entirely on them, because Instagram again had plays a heavy part in this, and them silencing our accounts, not showing us, not showing our information, all that stuff. But the brands have the responsibility. If you're going to now come to me and tell me that I want to include you and we're so much about inclusivity and we're so much about diversity, I want you to put your money where your mouth is. Don't just show up and say, we're going to include you. But when your financial statements come out, you haven't donated to one Black organization. You
Yep.
haven't sought out one Black organization that you could fund or you could help put some money towards. I mean, you've been profiting off of us for so long, even inadvertently profiting off of us for so long, because as bad as it is, we don't have these retailers. I think there's only one Black outdoor retail store that is geared specifically toward outdoor gear, and that's in Texas. That's what we have for representation. That's pretty much it in terms of outdoor gear and purchasing gear. How come we're still going to these stores and purchasing these brands? We're still putting our money in their organizations, in their corporations. Why have we been okay with them not representing us, but still putting our money behind their brand? Now it's time for you to give us back some of the money that you've taken from us for so long.
And I think part of it too, I mean, I know me personally, when I started out, 6 years ago, really getting just my feet wet into the outdoors and nature, I think I had an internalized feeling that it's just me. There's no other Black girl that wants to chase waterfalls like me.
Mm-hmm.
There's no other Black people that want to kayak or go camping. So because we didn't see each other, we hadn't found each other, I think some of that was in our head. It's like, well, maybe we don't do this. So then it makes sense that the brands don't market to me, only to find out that it's not really true and it's cyclical, like you said. Because if you did show people doing this, then more of us would do it. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's just natural. But
Yeah.
not to belabor that point, I think everyone out there gets how we feel about it. And
Oh
we
yeah.
got strong opinions between the
Yes,
two of
very
us.
strong. But I'm like, again, I'm glad that these conversations, like the one you and I are having now, where there are two Black women sitting down discussing our presence in the outdoors. Because to me, that's just a whole other level of dope.
And more of it is coming. Trust me, more of it is coming. Um, Now, have you experienced any direct racism while you've been enjoying nature or doing anything outdoors?
Well, beyond the questions of you did this by yourself. Oh my God, you actually fished. I there's this conversation that people have often about Canada and Canada not having racism or Canada being the quiet racist. I just got called, not just like some summer last year, I was out fishing by myself, and I was just standing on the shore fishing because I don't have the boat luxury money. I was just fishing from shore, and someone drove by and shouted that the N words don't fish.
Whoa, in
Oh
Canada?
yeah. Oh, right, right, Lauren, because Canada
Do
is
not
in.
don't ruin my utopia for
Oh,
me,
girl,
Misha. I thought I was gonna be a Canadian refugee.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It does exist, and I think that's a part of the danger of the conversation is that it doesn't happen when it does happen because it is here.
Wow.
It's just again, people say Canada has overt racism. It's not overt racism. It's ignored racism.
So you were fishing and
Hmm.
someone, like, was this person just walking by?
He was driving by in his pickup truck, and he decided that the only thing that he could do for his day to make him feel good was to call me the N word and told me that I don't fish.
I am, well,
Yeah.
first, as your sister in the universe, I'm sorry that you experienced that, and I'm ready to kick his ass. But I mean, how did that make you feel?
Honestly, I don't know if it was just because I've put it in my head that ignorance exists and a lot of it exists, and I can't allow that to determine how I operate in spaces. I can't allow that to determine whether or not I'm going to pick up material and go fishing, or I'm going to go fishing in a community that I know I might not be welcomed in, because that's where the good waters are, and I want to fish the good fish and I want to fish the good waters. It actually pushes me harder to create more representation so that they can actually see that we do fish and that we're out here fishing and that we're out here enjoying the outdoors. I mean, there are times where I've walked into stores and I've walked into the fishing department, and this is where the intersectionality of being a woman and being a Black woman come together, because I don't get approached for customer service. I had to stand at the counter and wait. And then someone comes over and say, "Can I help you with something?" Yeah, you can buy me a car. You can get me a car from the fishing section. That's exactly what I was waiting here for. Um, I
Right.
mean, like, I did come here to purchase material to tie flies, and how about you help me with that? So there's a lot of little things that happen, and I don't like calling them microaggressions because there's nothing micro about someone being aggressive towards you without hitting you. It's still an aggression. There's no such thing as microtherapy from these things. If you experience aggression for so long and you need to deal with it, you're going to therapy. You're not going to microtherapy. You're actually going to therapy to deal with the things that you've experienced and have now become a part of your psyche.
You're absolutely right. Those, as people like to call them, micro aggressions, they exact real trauma on us that we don't lose and we don't forget. But I'm really sorry that that happened to you, and I know how it feels. I asked that question not out of insensitivity, really, just I know how it feels. Like, it's angering initially, and you're just like, why was that what you needed to do with your day? And like, of all the insults you want to yell,
Mm-hmm,
why does my color have to be the first thing that comes to mind?
mm-hmm.
But
And like, how do you deal with that, Lauren, when you experience it? Because you're out there and you live in Florida and you're always outside. How do you experience that? And how do you handle and navigate those situations?
I think for the most part, I've only had one overt situation like that. I was
Mhm.
called not only the N word but the B word too.
Oh,
I got both of them. I got a 2 for 1.
oh, special.
Very special. And ironically, I was on my way to a camping trip that I helped plan um,
Wow.
for my local. I'm a Harry Potter nerd, if you didn't know. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so my local Harry Potter club, we plan events and things like that. And I just had this vision that I wanted to have a camping trip, but we'd infuse magic stuff in it because there is a part in the Harry Potter stories where they do camping and all that kind of stuff. So we thought it'd be super fun, right? So we planned this trip, found this campground with cabins and all this stuff. And I was headed to my event, and I had to stop at the store to pick up some things. And so, again, I live in an urban area, which means I got to travel to go camping somewhere in some cabins. So I'm in that kind of rural environment. And a gentleman almost hit me with his car in the parking lot. And I'm not shy. He was rushing, not paying attention. And I think I yelled, I was like, "Watch it, asshole." You
Mm-hmm.
know, and his window was down, and I guess he heard me. And so he backed up to say, "What did you say to me, you N word, B word?"
Wow.
Wow. And I had like, what did I have in my hand? I had something I was carrying for, it might have been a sleeping bag. I don't know, something where he realized I was going camping, and he was just like, N words don't camp anyway. I don't know
Oh,
why you buying all
wow.
that. I mean, he just went on a tirade, honey. And
Wow.
I was really shaken up about it because, so my origins, I grew up in Dallas, Texas. Y'all, Texas is racist as hell, still
Mm-hmm.
is, always has
Mm-hmm.
been. So it's not that it surprises me. It had just been a really long time since it was so in your face, and I didn't let it take me over. I didn't let it ruin my weekend, but I did have to get it out, get the tears out. But overall, when we get these aggressions, the questions, the looks, "Oh, what are you doing here?" Or the not getting service when you're in cough, cough, Bass Pro Shops. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I ain't scared. When I'm there trying to buy backpacking gear for my first overnight backpack trip, and you ask me, am I purchasing this as a gift? Huh?
Yep. Yep.
Like, who does that? Well, you probably want to have the person you're doing this for with you so you can be fitted,
Oh yeah, that's like usually my fishing rod stories.
because that
Ev-
makes sense.
Yep.
But it's just similar to you. It ultimately, initially, yeah, I'm mad as hell, and that's my personality. I don't hold back, but it fuels my fire. It pushes me more to make this mainstream so that you are not surprised. None of this is surprising to you. So it's great that we can experience what we experience it, but we use it to fuel and push our mission forward, and the hope is that and they start to see so many of us that this no longer becomes something worth insulting us over.
Yeah, it's I think it's a lot of education on everybody's part and a lot of miseducation that's happened for years. And I think that's probably one of the only ways, or a couple of ways, that we're going to get over it is through education and representation. And I think those two combined will help to change the narrative. It will help to change the narrative. It will help to have people not feel so comfortable with telling us what we can, can't, and shouldn't do, right? I mean, it's going to take a little bit of time to change it, but starting the work somewhere is just where we need to go.
Absolutely. Okay, so my blog is actually called full name Misadventures of an Outdoorsy Diva because I screw stuff up all the time, but I do it anyway. So you shared one, but now you got to give us another one.
Oh, a misadventure. Beyond. Oh my God, there's so many. I think the last time was not the last time. There's one event where I got lost going back from the bathroom to my campsite.
Oh no. Yes, tell us.
It was late and I was probably still sleeping, and I should not have walked over to the bathroom at that time of the night. I should have just left it, went and peed behind the tent like I usually do, because that's what you do when you're camping. Just go find a bush somewhere, but I wanted to be proper. And so I went, and somehow I decided that I was going to walk a different path that I had taken to go to the bathroom to get back to my campsite. And that was like kind of a labyrinth. I could not find my way out of it. And I just kept on going, going, going. And it took me probably a half an hour in the deep, deep, deep part of the night to get back to my campsite after crying because I didn't know where I was, and I didn't have
Oh
anything with me. I had no cell phone. I had a flashlight, and I hate asking people questions. And at like that time of the morning, I'm not asking anyone anything because I don't know who you are. So I just kept on going around hoping I'd see like a park ranger driving through. But honestly, after having that and just navigating my way and finding that I was literally like 5 minutes from my campsite. It was a good learning experience, but it was also just, Demiesha, be prepared, know what you're doing, and just go pee in the bush. You're fine.
no. Go pee in the bush
Just pee
or
in the
in
bush,
the
you're fine.
it's perfectly okay.
Yep.
I've told lots of funny pee stories on the
But
podcast before.
I mean, it happens. You're in nature. You're not going to always have a bathroom to go to. You're going to learn to adapt, and you're going to, if you're on a developed campsite, then great, you have all the facilities. But if you really want to do a deep dive in nature and go on a backcountry backpacking trip, even as an outdoorsy diva, it can be done. But just know you're going to go pee in the bush.
Absolutely. And I think so. And here's why I asked this question, because I want people to see us like as human, right? Like, I don't want people to think, oh, they do this stuff all the time and I could never do that. Like, I want to remove that veil and let them know, like, we screw up all the time, but it's okay. You push through it, you do it anyway, you plan what you can plan, as best as you can. And you just accept that nature's unpredictable and something is bound to go wrong, but it's you just recover from it and you keep going anyway.
Yeah, it's just how you navigate it once you get into it, and how you navigate out of it, and the lessons that you can take from screwing up. Because again, I mean, if you're doing it perfect all the time, you never really know or understand that there's somewhere else that you some other way that you could have experienced that same thing and what you could have taken from it. So like I always say, like Miss Frizzle says, take chances, make mistakes, get messy. Just do it. Just do it.
I love it. Now, what is an outdoor activity that you haven't tried yet, but you would really like to do it?
Skydiving.
You were ready with that answer.
Because I was just talking to my brother about it last night, because he lives in Boston and he's been skydiving before. And we were talking about, I'm trying to encourage him to start a brown boy outdoor in Boston.
Ah,
Just because men are so missing from this conversation in the outdoors piece, and just community around men exploring the outdoor. I'm trying to trying to encourage him to do that as well. But yeah, just I really want to go skydiving. I've been bungee jumping, I've been whitewater rafting, I've I've ziplined like one of the longest zip lines in Canada, done in North America, sorry, done the highest bungee jump in North America, like done all those things. I'm a fan of extreme things. So skydiving for me is what's next on my list, and definitely, as much as it's not considered an outdoors adventure, an outdoors sport, it is still something in nature where I can view nature coming down. So I'm definitely looking forward to skydiving.
Whatever, it's an outdoor activity, and I too am super adventurous. I didn't know that about you. Yay. See, I didn't know that just from your feed, that you were
Mhm.
also into adventure too. So
Oh
I
yeah,
hate when people try to like put what's considered outdoors in a
in a
box.
box. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Yep.
subscribe to that at
Yep.
all. So that is awesome. Skydiving is also on my list. I said I wouldn't do it until my son turned 18. It was just, I don't know why. Hang gliding was perfectly okay, and swimming with sharks, that was fine too. But hang gliding was, but skydiving was where I drew the line for some reason as being a responsible parent. I don't know. But now that he's grown, it's something he actually wants to do too. And we
That'd
said
be
we
awesome.
do it together, but that's on my list. That's very cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm trying to get my daughter to do bungee jumping with me, but I won't until she's 18. I told her I won't. I'm not signing. If I have to sign a waiver for it, she won't be doing it.
Gotcha. Now, is she adventurous like you?
Oh, definitely. We're currently she is definitely the adventure child as well. And we're currently waiting for the bass season here because she's also an angler. Just waiting for bass season to open up here in our region so she can do what she does every summer and outfish me.
Yes. Y'all, do you have a YouTube channel?
We should, but we don't.
We're
I'm
putting that
bad
in
at
the
capturing.
universe.
Yes, I'm so bad at capturing my experiences, and that's why for so long on my Instagram page I didn't really have images of me fly fishing because I'm always just go out, enjoy the sport, do it, take the mental pictures, take the mental notes, and come back. But then I did realize how limiting it was to having other people seeing me do it. So now I've started to capture through imagery the things that I'm doing so that I could share on Brown Girl Outdoor World.
We're just going to throw that out there in the universe. Universe, send Misha a drone so that she can get
Oh,
footage of her
yes.
and her daughter fly fishing together.
Yes, yes, definitely.
Now, what is Brown Girl Outdoor World most looking forward to for the rest of 2020? And we'll throw in 2021 too, since 2020 is a dumpster fire.
Just building just building more community and getting more people comfortable with the idea that they too can experience nature from whatever point that they're in. I mean, I keep on reminding people that you don't have to travel far to experience nature. Nature exists right outside your front door. And with COVID now and travel restrictions being in place and everything, finding nature in your neighborhood is so essential. Um, so having people learn and understand that you can still experience nature at your front door and you shouldn't shy away from doing that is important for us as we continue to operate from places close to home during 2020. Once 2020 is over and or COVID's over or decides to leave us and we're able to get more into spaces, I'm very much looking forward to building community in the outdoors, taking more people camping, teaching women how to fish, hopefully coordinating with a few guides on getting more Black women into fishing and creating a gear library so that I can remove some of the expenses associated with these outdoor sports, removing some of that and having a gear library so that if women want to come and learn fly fishing, figure out if they like the sport, they can come to Brown Girl Outdoor World and say, hey, I'd like to try that sport. Are you able to lend me equipment? And that is what I want to build for 2021. So build a solid gear library to take away some of the costs and stuff associated with it.
I love that. I love it. I love it. I really look forward to seeing that come to fruition. I look forward to supporting you and working with you and doing some stuff with you, like
Yes.
physically. So I'm ready for them to let me out. Let us out
Open
of
those
here.
borders, open the borders, please. And also,
So
if
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No,
I
go
was gonna
ahead.
say there's another person who I don't know if you follow Kina Pay on Instagram. She is this, she lives in California and she hikes and cooks on the trail. Oh
Oh,
My word, her one of her videos was just featured on BuzzFeed, and she
Huh.
was supposed to come to Canada with, but her and I were supposed to meet up in Alberta in August to do like a girls trip out there, just cooking and hiking on the trails and experiencing nature together.
That would be super fun.
So definitely one of the things we're looking again, creating community and bringing America to Canada to say, hey, we have this great outdoors here as well. Come enjoy it with us.
You know, the other place in Canada that's on my bucket list is Banff National Park. Like, I can't tell you how hurt I was because that trip was happening this year and I had to scrap it.
Oh no! So that's where Keena and I were. Part of it, the trip was to be in Banff in August. We were planning this whole beautiful experience for Banff and Jasper National Park, which is just outside of Banff as well, because that's one of her favorite places to go is Banff. I've been there during the winter time. I've never ventured there in the summer as yet, but it's beautiful in
It
the
is
winter.
so beautiful all the
Yeah.
time. I
Yes.
stalk it. Oh my goodness. Okay, we're putting that in the universe.
Oh, yes. Everything in the universe so we can make it in reality.
We can make it happen. Now, tell everybody the best places to find Brown Girl Outdoor World.
So come on, find me on Instagram at brown_girl_outdoor world. That's my Instagram. So brown_girl_outdoor world on Instagram. Also, you can find me on the She Said What She Said live cast on Instagram every Monday, where it's just a woman talking about everything everywhere about diversity in the outdoors, equity, unicorns, and anything that goes with the outdoors. So we make it as light as it can be and heavy as it can be on Mondays on 7:30 on She Said What She Said on Instagram. And I'm also on Twitter on the Brown Girl Outdoor World as well.
And now, for your community, do you have any groups or anything that people can join?
We have a Facebook group under the same name, Brown Girl Outdoor World. We're working on setting up a whole bunch of other community specific groups, so interest point groups. So if you're into fishing, if you're into hiking, canoeing, whatever it is, if those are your specific interests, we're working on creating groups specific to those activities as well for Facebook.
Fantastic. I will make sure to add all of those links so you guys can find out more about Brown Girl Outdoor World in the show notes. Thank you so much, Misha, for joining the show. Keep doing what you're doing and being inspiring and changing these lives out here.
Thank you so much for having me, Lauren. And I'm looking forward to everything that you're working on and watching you blossom in this space. And it's a beautiful thing to see. So again, thank you for having me and thank you for holding and creating space for us out there in the outdoors.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. And if you did, make sure you subscribe to the Outdoorsy Diva podcast. Be sure to check out Misadventures of an Outdoorsy Diva blog on outdoorsydiva.com. You can also keep up with me and my adventures, so check out all of my social channels. Find Outdoorsy Diva on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest.